But it's actually an interesting story. So I knew that I knew I wasn't going to make a professional career out of swimming. That just wasn't where I was at 18. So I wanted something where I could swim all the time, could improve swimming, all that, but also build my career extracurricularly to prepare to like enter the working world with a stacked resume, because I wasn't going to work part time while I was swimming and going to school. And then third, the school element. I wanted to do well in school too. I didn't want to be like, I wanted to be a leader. I didn't want to be pigeonholed into like a certain event. I mean, it was just like all the stuff that was running through my head at the time. But ultimately, it was focused on how can I set myself up for a career after swimming, was the big deal. So with Queens, I saw the swimming element, which was first of all, team elite trained there. I could and I did practice with like Brian Lochte, Tyler Clary, all before the 2016 trials. I mean, that was my training group like 3-4 times a week. Um, and during the summers, that was my training group the entire time when we were out of school. So there's a swimming element. It's in Charlotte, which at the time was the second largest financial center in the U.S. And I wanted to go into business finance, which I did. Um, and on my recruiting trip, I mean, it was just like the quintessential small school experience. I met with the president of the university, who I'm still good friends with today. I met with the dean of the business school, who, helped me throughout my career there. So like there was the school portion of it. And then, I mean, I knew the extracurriculars would follow. And I was president of the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. I was in a peer mentoring program called Transition to University, for first year students. What else did I do? Yeah, those were my resume builders there. So it came down to it. Oh, and something I didn't mention, my older sister went there. So she was 2 years ahead of me, and we both had such a similar training mentality. And she had gotten better. She had exploded. She had won D2 nationals. So I knew there was no risk there because we had the same training mentality. She was actually the reason I was like, I felt such a need to go D1 so early on before I looked at schools. Cause I was like, I mean, I'm a D1 swimmer. I'm clearly a D1 caliber, like let's go to a top D1 school. And I didn't want to go to Queens because my older sister was there. I wanted to do something new. I wanted to go out on my own. But I mean, when it came down to it, that's the decision I made, and no regrets there. I mean, I was made a captain after my freshman year, and we won 4 national championships. They just won a 5th without me. So I feel like your job as a leader is to leave the right culture behind. And that's what I feel like I did there. So yeah, I mean, might have been a little rambly, but really I wanted to look for the place that would best set me up for a career after swimming.
I know we're running short on time here, so I want to ask a couple of broad questions to kind of wrap up. If you looked at everything after I asked you the question about what were you most proud of as a junior swimmer, and you didn't think of it that way. So let me broaden it out to the whole career, and now we can include Queens and everything that you accomplished. When you look back at your entire career, what are you most proud of?
It was the way I developed as a leader, certainly. When I was first a captain my sophomore year, I mean, I was made a captain because it was one of those things where it was like first in the water, last out of the water. I mean, not actually, but first in the water, 5:30 in the morning, first there, 15 minutes before practice, activating, doing prehab, stuff like that, just setting a good example. When I was first made a leader, I mean, I get frustrated with the fact that people weren't on the same page. Like you just learn so much every year. By the time I got to my senior year, like welcoming and onboarding the new class, dealing with disciplinary issues, they'd all become just things that I could take in stride. And my sophomore year, my friends were like my personal friends from freshman year who were swimmers. Like, I mean, they were just like kind of not frustrated with me, but that might be the best way to describe it, is frustrated with me because, all of a sudden like, oh, Nick's not partying as much as he used to, or like you gotten lame and stuff like that. And by my senior year, I think I really struck a balance and was a good leader and, onboarded the new class and, what else, like built a culture and truly like a culture of winning. And the championship mindset, as Coach Dugdale and I coined it and called it. But yeah, I mean, he won 5 national championships in his first 8 years of being a program, something crazy like that. So, I mean, it was really like best culture, but I'd say like the proudest moment, that's definitely what's benefited me the most, is building those leadership qualities. But the proudest moment, I'd say, was, and I always took a team approach to it, because like we needed to win as a team. The proudest moment, I mean, there were great races along the way, races that I shouldn't have won, but I did, dealing with like food poisoning at my first nationals. But the proudest moment was senior year. I got off the bus and I grabbed our 4th national championship trophy. And we have this big, because we're the Royals, so we have this big bronze lion statue at the front of the Levine Center, which was where our pool athletic center was. And I like brought it there and set the 4th one down in front of the building. And that was it. I mean, I still think about that to this moment. Like, I get chills when I talk about it. Because my entire career, from that moment when I was 12 with Brad on the side of the pool after winning that 400 IM, breaking the state record, my entire career was built up to the next thing. What's the next thing? And so this was just such good closure that, yeah, that's definitely the 4 national championships, by far what I'm most proud of. I mean, I've got the rings like right over here. They're still out and displayed. So, I mean, the college career, really switching from an individual to a team-focused mindset, and then putting that 4th trophy down by the mascot, that's it. Close the book. There's the chapter. And it's kind of funny, because then it was like, well, what else can I put my time and energy into to be the best at?
It's great. You have great perspective, Nick. I've really enjoyed talking to you, because I can see that you loved swimming and you always had a perspective that it was going to be a chapter in your life. And even when you were going through the chapters within that chapter, you always had a focus on what was next. Very unique personality.